So let's get started with this dHCI update session. Now, like I said, quickly, for those who are not aware of what has changed the last year, because also in the positioning the last year, there were quite a lot of changes since the products exist quite some time. Quick update about when to choose which one. And honestly, there is no presentation whatsoever inside HPE that I can share with you about when to pick which one. So it's my point of view that I'm gonna share with you. So we're going to do a side-by-side comparison, because if I take the slide deck, by the way, I mentioned this, I showed this as well in previous update sessions. Where can I find all these presentations? On Seismic. So hpe.seismic.com. This is where you can find all PowerPoint presentations, competitive information, sales guides, technical presentations, comparisons, and all the information can be found on Seismic. And so if I go to the Seismic briefcase, it works with briefcases. I go to the HCI briefcase, you will find the presentation on SimpliVity. That's the one at the left. And I take the first slide from the dHCI presentation, which is on the right. And so now I am the advocate of the devil for you, of course, because if I see at the left, am I quite sure that it's about SimpliVity? Because, by the way, it's simple to deploy, simple to manage, and simple to scale. But if I take a look at the right presentation from dHCI, it also says it's simple to deploy, simple to manage, and simple to scale. So, that really doesn't help me, right? So, and this is the feedback that I get as well. This is why I have a quick whiteboarding that I'm going to share with you, since it doesn't exist on a slide from HPE. And I prefer as well to do some whiteboarding because it's much more interactive and interesting compared to PowerPoints anyway. HPE is an expert in creating PowerPoints, right? So what I see is when customers, you are calling me to say, hey, Bart, I have an existing environment. That customer has some servers and some storage and some networking and some software on top of it, and they need to migrate. We have to innovate it. We have to modernize it. We have to replace it. So the typical question is, how much do you need? How much of CPU, memory, compute power, and then storage power or storage capacity? Okay, these are the two ones. Beside the typical third question, how do you want to pay for it per month, per year, per 5 years, and which support on there. But if I'm going to take a look at two important parameters, is then storage and compute. So I'm going to show you my whiteboarding. So gonna make a 2D schema here with storage and compute power. And typically, if I'm talking about a small, a medium, or a large customer, at the end, it will be always, how many users or how many servers, how many virtual machines. I assume that most of you are all virtualizing. So a certain number of virtual machines that you're gonna have with a certain number of data behind it, file servers, mail servers, database servers, application servers, VDI servers, whatever, anything, terminal servers, that's up to you. And most of the time, normally, this is what the requirements of that customer are. And knowing that here I have my SMB customer, and here at the top is my enterprise environment. The difference is only they have much more users, much more terabytes, much more virtual machines, and so they need much more CPU and memory. But most of the time, it's a nice straight line. When I'm going to take a look at the evolution over 5 years, also about expanding storage. Hey, I need more storage. Yeah, most of the time they have more virtual machines, so they need more memory as well in their servers. Yeah. And so what I see is that here, okay, as long as you stay in this zone, because you will always have customers that have more data than compute power. Yeah, it's a storage company, a storage customer. And you have also customers who need more compute power compared to data. That's a data analytics company, for instance, or companies doing HPC, high performance computing. They are running a lot of batches of intelligence on their data, and then they do something with it. So you have always customers, and this is the question that I have for you. You have to define where is your customer, and I'm gonna do that together with you, because I need to know, hey guys, how many compute and how many storage do you need today, and in the upcoming years, what is the expected growth in there? And what do I see here is that when I'm going to compare with the two solutions that we have, and you're going to see the details in a minute, with SimpliVity, hyperconverged means that we're going to combine the storage in the compute, in the servers, because with traditional IT, we see too often that a customer is buying a metal box with CPU and memory and storage in there for compute, and then another metal box with some disks in there, which has also CPU and memory to run a storage operating system. Well, with hyperconverged already a long time, with left-hand VSA, oh, we're doing already hyperconverged more than 20 years today. But anyway, we're going to combine compute and storage together. This is what is SimpliVity. You're going to get the pictures in a minute, but compute and storage is combined. And of course, in SimpliVity, you will see that we can have a small, medium, large, extra large on capacity. And in those nodes, because we're talking about SimpliVity nodes, you can put a 8-core CPU in there, and you can put a 30-core CPU in there, and you can put 128 gig of RAM in there, and you can put 3 terabyte of RAM in one node. But this is what I am drawing here now, is in this area, this is where we're gonna focus, where we're gonna position SimpliVity. Yeah, for those customers who need compute, who need storage, but it's not for those customers who need an insane amount of compute, because with every SimpliVity node, you're gonna add CPU and memory, but you're gonna add capacity as well. Imagine that you have a customer that says, I need a lot of compute, but technically seen, I don't have those tens, hundreds of terabytes. I just have a few terabyte of data, but for VDI, maybe I need an insane amount of CPU and memory, or maybe an SAP HANA or an Oracle that he is running. So, or vice versa. My applications are lightweight applications. It's just one big file server and a print server, but I need to keep my data. I don't want to clean up my data. I don't want to structure my data. I just hold all my data, and I have an insane number of storage requirements in here at the top. Well, at that moment as well, you will see that SimpliVity, even with those extra large nodes, but you will see at one moment in time, if you call me and you say, hey, Bart, I have a customer with 100 terabyte of data, at that moment, I know out of experience that SimpliVity indeed maybe is not the perfect fit, because I can deliver 100 terabyte with SimpliVity, but I need a lot of SimpliVity nodes for that, and every node also has compute, and there is a VMware license on it, since it is also running a server. And so it's at that moment here in this area now, outside, yeah, for those customers who need more CPU than memory, than storage, or more storage than compute, well, it's at that moment that I'm gonna see here dHCI. That's the D in HCI, disaggregated HCI. Also, I will give you the pictures of what is the solution, and we're gonna separate the storage from the compute again. Now, the software on top of it will make it, of course, all in one solution, which is HCI, but we're gonna disaggregate compute from storage so that the customer has more flexibility when the customer says, I need more terabytes, or the customer says, I need more compute. I agree with SimpliVity. If the customer says, I need more compute, well, you know with SimpliVity that we have a thing called compute nodes. Yeah, so I agree here in this picture. Maybe we can do, it should be in green, because the green is then the SimpliVity one, that we can do it with compute nodes. But even with compute nodes, it still has a cost on top of your SimpliVity with the VMware licensing as well. While you will see with dHCI that we have more flexibility on the scalability of the resources. I'm going to show you in a minute in the presentation. As well, I should say that here somewhere with SimpliVity, like I said, if you tell me, hey, I need more than 100 terabyte, or I need more than a huge amount of 20, 30, 40, 50 terabyte of RAM, never say never. At that moment with SimpliVity, I know as well that here over, that should be in blue again. So also for the really big environments, even while SimpliVity says, yeah, we can scale up to 96 nodes of SimpliVity, which is right. Nevertheless, it will have a certain price, and at that moment, I know also that dHCI will be more interesting. Okay, but like I said, if I take a look at the Belgian market is a lot of this. I will set it in yellow here. A lot of the Belgian market is here, and also here, and also here, right? So, and that's the thing. Yeah, it depends of a few parameters. There are some other parameters, which I'm going to show you now in the presentation. It's about details. That 10% that I was talking about is that SimpliVity and dHCI has a few unique features. One of the unique features of SimpliVity is because of the type of storage virtualization that is used. It's called DVP, the Data Virtualization Platform from SimpliVity. It's that software-defined storage layer. They put some intelligence in there. It's an object storage, database-driven, database-backed finally, which gives us the possibility, if you say my customer wants really state-of-the-art, high-end data protection, and you will see one of the unique features is if your customer has, for instance, ransomware, with a few terabytes of a file server that got encrypted. Well, with SimpliVity, one of the unique features, it's in the upcoming slides, you will see that we can restore that 1 or 2 or 3 terabyte virtual machine in less than a minute with data from 10 minutes ago. So the customer is not losing his data with a backup from yesterday evening, 10 p.m. typically, but then it's an incremental backup on Wednesday. And so you need to do a restore. You have to start at the full backup on Saturday, and then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which takes a long time to restore. Well, I have a lot of use cases, a lot of customers that said, I had ransomware. I don't want this crap anymore. I want an easy solution. Right click, restore my data. Well, they go for SimpliVity because the software virtualization, the storage virtualization allows to do that. While with dHCI, knowing that with dHCI, there's a nimble array, or now the next generation nimble array, generation 6, which we call Electra these days. About Electra, more details in the session from last week in the storage and compute update session. And keep us following because there is some exciting news that is coming there as well at HPE Discover, which is next week. So there will be a lot of announcements in there. Keep on following us and me as well on social media. You will get the latest and greatest from me. Tomorrow I am in the plane to Vegas. So with dHCI, we have Nimble, we have Electra now. And you know with Nimble and Electra that the availability, the resiliency with Nimble, HPE is giving you 6 nines, 99.9999 availability with Electra 6000, and even 100% of availability with Electra 9000, which is the Primera platform from before. So if that customer says, I want that resiliency, I want that high availability with guarantees, I also don't want to have that performance penalty. Because here with SimpliVity, I admit that we are virtualizing the storage, and there is that OVC, that virtual controller, which is a little virtual VM that is running. That VM needs 50, 60 gig of RAM, depending on the capacity that you are virtualizing. Now, we take this into account in our sizing, but nevertheless, there is some performance impact with SimpliVity, even that it's very fast. It is consuming resources from your nodes that you cannot use for something else. While with dHCI, it's not the case because we're going to separate again storage and compute. So it's a little bit more efficient on resources. While with SimpliVity, we have a little bit more efficiency on the storage with the deduplication and the compression, how that goes, right? So it's about those details that I'm going to dive deeper now to show you the difference between the two. So really quickly, I'm not going to dive, I'm not going to tell you what is SimpliVity. I have so many recordings, presentations, webinars on my YouTube channel. You will find videos about SimpliVity on my blog as well. So this is fantastic. We're selling it like hot cookies, quite a lot. What is it? 2 nodes, again, minimum 2 nodes. It scales out 3, 4, 5, 6, 96 nodes in a cluster, minimum of 2. Why? Because if one fails, the other one takes over. Data is mirrored synchronously, replicated across the 2 nodes, so you will never lose data anyway. It's easy to install, it's easy to configure. I'll show you in a minute a few screenshots. The only thing that your customer needs to know is right click. He needs to know VMware vCenter, because it's VMware vCenter that will manage the complete environment. And the complete environment is indeed the hardware, the virtualization layer, the storage layer, so creating data stores, presenting them to servers. It's a 10-second job, it's 3 clicks, and you have a data store presented, which is much more efficient compared to an MSA, for instance. MSA is fantastic, but you need 3 management tools and at least 15 minutes and a lot of passwords to authenticate against all those management tools. Well, here it's just in 10 seconds, I can create a data store and present it. So the overall cost will be lower because you need less time to put in there. Okay, that's the whole idea. Now, there's also, like I said, there's data protection in there as well, due to the deduplication and the backup, the virtualization of the storage. And there's on-premises monitoring as well, included with InfoSight these days, is also supporting SimpliVity. I'm going to tell about that in a minute as well, because also there are some updates. But that's the whole idea about SimpliVity. And this is the nice marketing information. With the deduplication, we have reduced storage costs. They had calculations where the return on investment, so the payback, was within 1 year. I have customers who are confirming this, by the way, that when they implemented SimpliVity, they're making money out of it. Just because of the time that they have to put in there, it's much less. And this is a really cool one. This is the demos that I give. If you have a customer who is interested and you want to give a demo, just call me. I do 2-3 times per week. I do a demo on the SimpliVity gear that we have in our demo environment. Okay, so, and it always works. That VM that I have, I create a copy of that VM. It takes less than a minute of 1 terabyte of data. I challenge you to do that on your MSA or on your Nimble or your competitive storage solution, whatever, to clone a virtual machine of 1 terabyte. It's you don't even have the time to drink your cup of coffee. Then I'm going to make a backup of it. I'm going to delete it, and then I'm going to restore it. My demo takes 5 minutes with creation of data, a backup of data, destroying the data and restoring destroying the data and then restoring the data. So it's really cool platform. The demo works all the time. Most of the time when I give the demo to the end customer says, yep, I sign here, deal is closed most of the time. Yeah. You don't have to believe me. A lot of people in the room here will confirm that this is the case. Yeah, it's quite easy to sell. Due to the efficiency, with the deduplication and the compression, we're gonna write blocks only, the unique blocks. It's based on 8K blocks, and we're gonna write that block only once, yeah, on 2 nodes for high availability. But if you have 20 VMs with 20 times C, Windows, program file, system 32, and so on, no, for those 20 VMs, SimpliVity will write it only once on 2 nodes to have high availability. When we're going to move backups from one side to another side, sorry, so if you have a customer that has multiple remote sites and a big central data center as well. So I have a few use cases like this one as well. We have small SimpliVity nodes at the edge and then bigger SimpliVity nodes at the core site. And then every site will be a backup of each other. So we can send backups in a very efficient way from site 1 to site 2 and vice versa. And then if one site burns or floods or there is a destruction, it's not available, it's quite easy to restore that data in the other sites. And all that communication is very efficient, right? So this is what we show to your customer. It's an all-in-one system. So with HCI here, we're going to combine, you have a picture in a minute, but so storage is inside the compute server. It's a software that will do all the magic. The management is also one interface, right click. The upgrades, one-click upgrade, it's 3 clicks today. They're going towards a one-click upgrade. I have seen betas already of the upcoming versions, but today, even there, it's very easy to do an upgrade. Very easy. It's easier to do an upgrade with SimpliVity compared to the point-to-point upgrades where you have to read the release notes and the dependencies. Can I do that upgrade before I can do that one? Is it supported? Well, here HPE will make your life easier. And the first time is, I know, a little bit challenging, but the second time will be much easier once that you understand the mechanism. That's just one PDF. One guide that will explain what is supported from where to where, but also in the upcoming updates. So keep on following my update sessions because you will see there will be a lot of enhancements coming over there. Yeah. Also, the refresh cycles, there's no downtime since everything is high available. You don't have to plan downtime or do it in the weekend and so on. Also, my SimpliVity cluster, I do the update during the business hours. I don't have downtime since I can move all my virtual machines from one cluster to another. Yeah, this is a picture of how it looks like. This is the demo that I give very often is in my environment. I have a few clusters in there with a few nodes and everything is right click. So when you do a right click on a virtual machine, you can easily make a backup. You can clone it. You can move it from one cluster to another and set a backup policy means that, yeah, in Veeam, you have to create a backup job and then put that VM in a backup job. Well, here you do it with just with one click, set backup policy. I need certain number of copies of that virtual machine, all from one interface. If I'm going to click on my cluster level, the cluster with 2 or more nodes, it's on that level that I can create data stores. I can look for backups to do restores. I can register external stores, which I'm going to explain in a minute. This is an external store where we're going to send backups to, backups in the cloud, backup to store once, for instance. Well, it's all done on cluster level. Resume backups, suspend backups, generate backup reports. Well, all these things are done on cluster level. But the thing is, it's all right clicks. There is no training that you need to follow to learn this. If you pay attention when I give the demo, sometimes when I have a good contact with the customer, sometimes I say, hey, I did a demo. Here's my laptop. You try it for yourself. Most of the time, even the CEO, even he can do it. So at that moment, he's convinced. There you go. The efficiency, that's the number that you can see in here. That efficiency 47.1 means that that customer here has 175 terabyte of raw data of virtual machines and backups, local backups and remote backups. In this case, that's a lot of data. Well, that 170 terabyte of raw data is here taking around somewhere a little bit less than 4 terabyte on that SimpliVity. Yeah, why? Because they have a lot of virtual machines and there's a lot of redundant data in there. Most of my customers, they have 40 to 1, 50 to 1. I have a few customers 20 to 1, but I have also quite a lot of customers with 100 to 1. Real use cases here in Belgium. Yeah, it depends of how many unique data that you have. Of course, if you have 20 virtual machines with Windows 2000, 2003, 2008 in 32-bit and 64-bit and 2012, and then 5 different flavors of Linux, then the chance will be lower that there is duplicate data compared to all virtual machines running nicely Windows 2019, for instance. Yeah, so that's the whole idea. Also, how many backups, of course, that you make and how many changes that happen. But really nice story. And these are the numbers that we get. 1/3 of the surveyed customers by Tech Validate and Forrester, well, they have even more than 100 to 1. These numbers I see here in Belgium as well. I have one customer in the region of Brussels that has an efficiency of, how much was it the last time I saw it? 650 to 1. Now, this is not a good example, but nevertheless, note that it is possible. As long as you have free space in your cluster, why not do it? Yeah. Now, about the data protection. So over time, we have updates about the software. I'm going to tell you in a minute about the latest version that was released earlier this year, a few months, 2 months ago, I think, 4.1.1, update 1. And there were some updates, very important updates on flexibility, on scalability, on performance, but also about the data location of my backups, because we can have, again, depending on the SLA of your customer, you can have rapid recovery. Yep, we can do that. You can have a centralized backup, but also customers say, hey, I want to keep my backups for 5 years. Now, we're not going to do that on SimpliVity, keep your backups of 5 years, because it's an all-flash solution. It says it's the only for performance reasons. So we're not going to keep that backup on the SimpliVity nodes at that moment. We're going to put it on store once or in the cloud. And that is technically possible as well now. So we have that really quick backup and that really quick restore. If that VM is sitting, all those pointers, all those backup data blocks are within the SimpliVity node. Now, of course, to simplify operations as well on the long term, HPE's SimpliVity has now an integration with Cloud Bank Backup, which is HPE storage in the cloud, which you're gonna pay per terabyte. Yeah. And at that moment, you can choose for yourself if it will be in AWS or Azure or Google. It's just a license, a subscription that you're going to pay per terabyte. And then with SimpliVity, you can make a connection to Cloud Bank, to that cloud repository. And then you can keep your backups over there for how many months or years that you would like. And so if you're going to compare with Veeam, who has that 3-2-1 rule, you need to have 3 copies on 2 different types of media and 1 offsite. Well, that 3-2-1 rule, we can do it with SimpliVity as well, because we have SimpliVity in the remote sites. We have SimpliVity on site. We can have then store once as well on site or in another data center. And then we have HPE Cloud Volumes where we can store my backups as well. So we can even have more than 3 locations of where you're gonna store your data. And that's the whole thing, is that it's all with just a few clicks to make a backup of your virtual machine here, or on another SimpliVity cluster somewhere else, or on a store once, or in the public cloud. It's just in a few clicks on one screen. So not like with Veeam, you have to make a backup job and then a replication job and all these kind of things, or copy jobs. Nope, here, just one interface. I want to have it here or there or there. It's very simple to set up and maintain, and it's efficient because for instance, if we're going to use store once, I have multiple customers who have store once as a backup repository, which is also a DL380 with just a lot of disks in there. Within the store once software, it's also doing that efficiency, typically 20-1 that we see there. And now with ransomware, the latest years and months, I can tell you as well, I have a few slides on it in a minute, about immutable backups. I get more and more questions about immutable backups. Well, I can tell you that both solutions today, we have immutable backup support as well. I have a few screenshots on there. And then the nice thing is, with that deduplication that we do, if you have remote sites and you want to send backups to that main site, we only send the unique data blocks. So it's not because you have a file server of 1 terabyte that we're going to send every 10 minutes 1 terabyte to the other site. No, we're going to send only the unique blocks which don't exist on the main site yet. It's a little bit like what Veeam is doing with its Enterprise Plus license, WAN optimization. It costs money with Veeam. Well, here it's built in, those WAN cost savings. It's built in when you buy that SimpliVity node. It's done automatically. You don't even have to tweak it, right? And so there you go. This is then the picture of that 3-2-1 rule. I can have copies in my SimpliVity. A SimpliVity federation is a name. Federation is one or multiple clusters in your remote sites, in your central site. Then we have store once on premises or maybe at a co-location site, and then we have the cloud. Tell me just how many copies do you want where? All from one interface. Yeah. And then finally as well, it's VMware based, so we can run virtualized machines, virtualized servers, virtualized applications. But know that today we are more and more in the market. I see more and more virtualization of applications as well, based on containers, Docker, Kubernetes. When you hear these kind of things, those companies are virtualizing applications, right? Well, at that moment, know that you can also run containerized applications on SimpliVity. So we have the so-called CSI drivers, the container storage interface driver is available, and know that you can run your containers as well on top of SimpliVity. It's one of those supported applications. I see a question in the Q&A, because yes, Q&A is of course open. Is it based on VMware Tanzu? No, it's not VMware Tanzu. Tanzu is the container platform from VMware. Well, we have our own container platform, which is based on Admiral software. So we're gonna run Admiral software, which is the HPE version of Docker and Kubernetes with enterprise support on top of it. And so you can run it directly in there. But it's in the backend, we are supporting the mainstream Docker and Kubernetes, but then with the HPE support on top of it. Yeah, nicely integrated platform. Of course, you can run Tanzu as well if you prefer Tanzu. Why not? But then you're paying money to VMware. And with the Broadcom acquisition, we'll see what will happen in the future. Here, it's all in one solution from HPE. Okay, so it makes your life easier there as well. Okay, so there you go. Like I said, all the applications that you want to run on there, virtualized servers or virtualized applications with Admiral, with Red Hat. Hey, you saw probably the announcement as well from Google that Google is using HPE now with the GreenLake platform. So now we have that Google Cloud Platform integration software as well on top of our environment. So hey, just tell me what you need and we can do it with SimpliVity. This is one of the feedbacks that we got. This is the most recent one that I found from somewhere end last year. Collaboration, business, VDI, end user computing, web content, retail, Oracle. Know that SAP HANA is certified to run on SimpliVity, which means a lot because SAP HANA has a high, strict compatibility list on the hardware side. So know that this is all supported. Yeah, now a quick update about the software from SimpliVity, because you should be aware that I have existing customers running SimpliVity already. So know that there is the latest version 4.1.1, and watch out when you go get that one, take the last one. There is update 1 as well. So 4.1.1 update 1 is the latest version available today. And as you can see, there are quite a lot of updates that were happening. I'm going to check with you the most important ones, but I challenge you, keep on updating those platforms. The first time when you do it, you need to look a little bit in that document. But once that you did it once, the next time will be much easier for you as well. You're gonna love that experience, right? So a quick update about 4.1.1, well, update 1, which is the same but with a few bug fixes in there as well. So now we have that cloud bank storage support together with HPE Cloud Volumes. We have now Catalyst copy support so that we can do copy jobs directly as well. We have data immutability, very important one to me. InfoSight integration. Initially it was every hour that they sent updates. Well, now we have streaming wellness. Streaming means that we have permanent updates with a heartbeat subscription and notifications. And also on the lifecycle management side, we have more flexibility as well. So the most important ones is about the management. We have peer managed, we have centrally managed environment with the external stores, with the backup reporting. One of the cool things is customers say, hey, I want to have a report about my backups. My backups are inside SimpliVity. I want to have a report. Are my backups okay? Yes or no? Well, in the past, until 4.1.0, you needed to deploy a little machine which is called the Management Virtual Appliance, the MVA. It doesn't cost a thing. It's just a little VM that is deployed for large-scale deployments to optimize the communication with vCenter. And on the MVA, there was a possibility to run a backup report. Now, most of our customers here, what I see is they have 2, 3, 4 nodes. I'm not going to deploy an MVA. An MVA is good from 60 nodes and higher. So I'm not going to deploy that one just for my backup reporting. Well, now I can tell you, if you install 4.1.1, even without the MVA, you can have that backup report for your customer, but you will see anyway, backup completed, backup completed, backup completed in less than a minute. But nevertheless, know that it is possible now as well. StoreOne's integration is getting better and better. We call it the StoreOne's optimized backup. So we are using now the deduplication from StoreOne's. So we're not going to send all the data to StoreOne's. We're only going to send the hashes of SimpliVity. Now, if you want to know what are the SimpliVity hashes, because we are doing hashing and chunking, please call me. I have another presentation. It takes 30 minutes where we're going to go deep dive into the storage virtualization. I have also a video available on it. So, but nevertheless, that's another presentation. It takes too long of how the storage virtualization works, but it works with hashing and chunking. And so we're going to send those hashes to StoreOne's, then StoreOne's will recognize those hashes of the deduplication algorithm, and then they're going to say, yeah, I have that one, I have that one, nope, I don't have this one, so please send me that data. So those chunks that StoreOne's doesn't have, he will send an update to the SimpliVity host, and then the SimpliVity host will only send the unique chunks, and the chunks are blocks of 8K. So also there, very efficient. It's not because you make a backup of a virtual machine of 1 terabyte that we're going to send 1 terabyte. Yeah, we're only going to send the changes. It's a logical full backup, but technically in the backend, it's an incremental backup. Yeah, so it's very efficient. And this is within the cluster, outside the cluster, to StoreOne's, and even when you go to Cloud Volumes as well, because we have the same Catalyst integration. This is StoreOne's Catalyst software that we are supporting in there. So yet another reason why to update to 4.1.1, because when you're going to send backups to the outside, it will be more efficient to make backups. But now also, if you want to do a restore, this is a new thing called Express Restore. So now if you're going to do a restore, also there, we're going to ask to StoreOne's, hey guys, I need to do a restore of that virtual machine, but only there, StoreOne's is going to tell, these are the hashes to restore that virtual machine. Now SimpliVity will only request the unique hashes. So if from that 1 terabyte virtual machine, if there is 900 gig of blocks of data available already from another virtual machine in SimpliVity, we're only gonna request for the unique hashes, and we're only gonna send the unique data that is not yet available on the SimpliVity node. Again, much faster compared to when the feature was not available with the previous update. So also there, the backups and restores to StoreOne's will go in a more efficient way. You will need less bandwidth on your network. I told you something about that copy backup. Now with the Catalyst integration from StoreOne's to StoreOne's, if you have multiple StoreOne's, you can copy those backups from one StoreOne's repository to another as well. That wasn't possible before, so now it is possible as well, definitely for larger environments. So that is that external store where we're going to use that copy, for instance, as well to Cloud Bank, because Cloud Bank storage in the HPE storage cloud, they're using Catalyst as well. So at that moment, you can then send that copy of that backup from StoreOne's to Cloud Bank behind your StoreOne's. Right. And then a very important one to me, very good discussion, is about data immutability. Because yeah, you need an offline backup, but even backups in the cloud, I'm sorry, but the cloud is always online. You cannot disconnect the cloud for your backups. So all the AWSs and the Amazons and the Googles and so on, they have a thing called data immutability, so that you can say, well, that file, even if you have root access, you're the super duper administrator, even then you cannot delete that backup. Well, that data immutability is now available as well in SimpliVity and on StoreOne's. The only thing that you have to do is you have to update your StoreOne's to a recent version, 4.3. whatever something, a recent version. And at that moment, you will see here when you're going to create a store, because it's called a catalyst store that you're going to create. It's not that difficult to do, but now you will see on that store, there is now a parameter, a checkbox that says data immutability for instance, 1 day. What does that mean, 1 day? You put the data on there, you cannot delete that data. Even if you are the root admin from store once, you cannot delete that data. Okay, know that you can enable it, you can disable it, depending of your data protection rules. And so there are some things that you need to be aware of when it's enabled, when it's disabled, when you're going to delete a backup. So what about the retention time? So hey, you're going to get a copy of the presentation. This was part of the 411 presentation. You can find it on Seismic, on PS Now. There are multiple places where you can find information, or just send me an email, call me, and I'll give you a dump of the more than 100 slides only on 411 update with all the details. So it's nicely documented as well in there what you need to do. By the way, there are a lot of CLI commands that you can run as well to connect to those remote stores. Initially, it was a lot of CLI based. Now, most of the things can be done in the user interface as well. Like I said, the most important ones here are new CLI commands that are available as well. The list has more than 100 comments. I stripped more than 100 slides into 10 slides here, just to me, the most important ones. Also, like I said, initially in the UI, in the first generation, I'm talking about 1 year ago, there was a lot of no, 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 yes. Well, now you will see with the latest update, yet another reason to update to 4.1.1 update 1 is that now finally you can all the things from within CLI, you can do now everything as well in the VMware user interface. While 1 year ago, there were quite a lot of no's at the right, and it was yes, 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 only at the left. So initially, I'm talking about more than a year ago, you had to do the backup through CLI to store once. Well, now you can do everything from within the user interface as well, from within vCenter UI. Yeah. Then I told you something about the streaming wellness and info site. Well, now if you go to infosite.hpe.com and you go to SimpliVity, to the wellness dashboard, now you will see that he is permanently sending the signatures of good or bad, yellow, red. Yellow is a warning, red is a critical alert. So now it goes in a much faster way. In the past, it took multiple hours before the real issue was displayed on InfoSite. So now this is now much more aligned. To give you an idea, we have millions of alerts that are processed per day on the InfoSite portal. So the experience that you have with Electra, with Nimble, you will have now with SimpliVity as well. We don't have that many dashboards yet, but at least we are sending those alerts now much faster to InfoSite. And an important second thing is also a feedback, a question that I got is, hey, but InfoSite, I'm not permanently checking InfoSite. Can I get email alerts? By the way, for those who attended my session 2 days ago about InfoSite and cloud physics, I told you there that for compute, for storage, for SimpliVity, you can enable email alerting through the tab subscriptions. Well, there you go. Also for SimpliVity, you just have to go to subscriptions settings, wellness dashboard settings. Then you have that little cog wheel at the top right, and there you can enable subscription emails with your email address, and then you will get alerts from your system about how good and how bad it goes. You just have to enable it. Okay, so this is how it looks like. I put the screenshots in the presentation for your reference, but you can find this in the help pages from InfoSite. Yeah, so here at the top right, you have that button. This is new since a few weeks, manage subscriptions, and then you can enable it for your email address. Okay, just do it. Yeah, so there you go. This is how it looks like. You can find it on multiple locations in the settings from your wellness dashboard. Okay. Final thing is also something about the updates. We have a software tool called SimpliVity Upgrade Manager that you're going to use to do the updates of the ILO firmware with the SPP, the service pack for ProLiant on the ProLiant hardware, then the VMware software, and then the SimpliVity software. It's an all-in-one solution, but the thing until 4.1.1 before, you had to do the update of the firmware, ESXi, and the SimpliVity software in one stack. Now, sometimes there are faster ESXi updates, then there will be SimpliVity updates, and you had to wait for a SimpliVity update before you can do the VMware update. So now with 4.1.1, HPE has decoupled the upgrade manager package. Okay, so now, there's an additional file. It's called the SimpliVity Interop catalog, which is a little file that you can download from the HPE support pages. And so now you will be able to update separately ESXi, the firmware, and then the SimpliVity software itself. Also there, you have to go first to 4.1.1, but from that moment on, you have much more flexibility. The only thing that you will need is here, it's that additional file that you're going to download, that SimpliVity Interop catalog. By the way, nicely described in the in the upgrade guide. So there's a PDF, an upgrade guide that you're going to download. It's one directory where you're going to put all those files in there. Then you're going to update your environment. Yeah. Considerations, there's also a check in the upgrade manager. You can run a check, so always look for things that are not possible. For instance, he will tell you, watch out, you're going to upgrade from a version that is not supported. There are some things that you need to follow from 6.5 to 6.7 to 7.0. Some things are allowed and not allowed with VMware. Also there, we're going to help you with those steps, because at one moment in time, you have to go first to vCenter 7 before you can do ESXi 7, of course. So there are some things. There is that document, the Interop guide, the interoperability guide, that will explain you how that works. That's a one-time action that you need to do separately, but that's more VMware related than SimpliVity related, of course. You see, upgrade to ESXi 7 has to be done once upgraded to ESXi 6.7 with your vCenter somewhere in between. But also there, please take a look in the upgrade guide and in the interoperability guide, because this is what is explained then going from 6.5 with an old version of SimpliVity. There are some things that are not allowed and there are a few things that are allowed. And there you go, refer to that interoperability guide. Okay. So if it's not clear, just call me. I want to help you with that. But it's nicely explained in that interoperability guide that you can find on the support pages from HPE support portal. Okay. Finally, product portfolio. The most important one that you should be aware of is today SimpliVity 3.25 is not available anymore. It's replaced now with the SimpliVity 3.25 Gen 10 Plus V2, which is just the latest generation of the the AMD Rome processor. So more cores, more performance, more PCI lane bandwidth. And so since it's new hardware, technically now we support as well. Initially, there was only a model with 4 and 6 SSDs, which is 7.5 and 10 terabyte capacity, raw capacity, before dedupe. Well, now know that with the new Plus V2 model, that there's also a by 8 SSD model. So that's a 15 terabyte raw capacity model that is available. A 10 terabyte, so 4.6, 7.5 and 10 terabyte node that is available as well in entry level. We sell them a lot for smaller environments, because with 2 of these nodes, you will have around 16 terabyte on your cluster, which is not bad at all. If you need more, we're going to take a look at the 380G, because there we have a model with 12, 16, and 24 SSDs. So there we have models up to 32 terabyte. Okay. If you have questions about this, call me or my colleagues. We have a sizing tool. We're going to let you know which one do you need. With 1 socket, 2 sockets, how many memory. You see, you can go up to 3 terabyte of RAM in one node. You can run an insane number of virtual machines in there. And then finally, know about the hyper guarantee program, when you're going to present SimpliVity, this is what I do when I go to a customer and I give that demo. I'm going to show them the efficiency. I'm going to show them the protection that under 1 minute to do a backup and a restore of a virtual machine. It's simple. It's hyper manageable and hyper available with 2 nodes, while all our competitors, they need at least 3 nodes. Even if they say we have 2 nodes available, don't trust them. There are a lot of limitations behind their 2-node solution. They need 3 nodes at least. And if you want to have the same high availability and resiliency, so that hyper protection, they need 5 nodes. If you want to know more about that, just call me. I'll give you a presentation of how their storage virtualization works and what their weaknesses are. Okay, so that's SimpliVity. Okay, with an update as well with the latest software on SimpliVity. Now we're going to take a quick look at dHCI as well. Remember, dHCI is where we have decoupled the hardware from compute, which is based on Nimble Gen 5 and today Electra, because I can tell you that Electra 6000 today is available with dHCI. Okay, now, the drivers for HCI, of course, it's all about efficiency, its performance, and its scalability. Now you will see that the scalability with dHCI goes a little bit further because there are some limitations, there are some trade-offs if you're going to go that way. And then with hyperconvergence, like I said, we're going to put the storage inside the compute. It is agile, it is simple to manage, it's definitely a lower OPEX, but there again, that scalability, like I said in this picture here, if you need more compute or more power, that scaling flexibility, there are quite some limitations on the long run. And it's for this that with dHCI, HPE created a solution where we don't have those wasted resources, where you don't have that risk impact on when you're going to put CPU and memory and storage together. It's not a rethinking. It is HCI, so all the benefits from hyperconverged of the simplicity and so on, we're gonna have it. So we have that lifecycle management, it's a turnkey experience, we have that full stack intelligence with InfoSight, of course, as well. So everything is in the product like this. So as you can see, this is a Nimble Gen 5. Now there's an Electra 6000 picture as well. It looks very similar. And we have DL320s and 325s and DL380s. We just have ProLiant servers. And we start with 2 nodes as well for high availability, but there the sky is the limit as well. So now if we're going to take a look at those principles, well, it's simple to deploy. Also 15 minutes from rack to production. Putting it in a rack is the heaviest job that you're going to do that day. It's simple to manage, to deploy. It's a deployment manager. You just have to put in a password and a few IP addresses and he will deploy everything. 15 minutes, 2 cups of coffee, and you can start creating your data stores and put virtual machines on there. Scalability, you're going to see in a minute how scalable it is. Simple to support because we have InfoSight, so it is really easy to support. And when there's a problem, HPE support will come to you instead of you going towards HPE support. And yes, we have also HPE Cloud Volumes integration, so there is that multi-cloud integration as well. Now, where do we gonna put dHCI then? Like I said on my whiteboarding, but definitely as well, if your customer says, hey, performance is very important, I need sub-millisecond latency. So if you have applications like SAP HANA and Oracle and other applications that require low latency, so high performance applications at that moment, dHCI will be the way to go. We have the guaranteed 6 nines of data availability. With SimpliVity, we can have 100% availability, but it's not measured, it's not guaranteed yet by HPE because we don't have that InfoSight yet on there. But with Electra and Nimble, we can do that. So here is that scalability. Like I said, if you stay on that green line in the middle, at that moment, yeah, you can consider SimpliVity for sure. Yeah, but as far as you go here to the right, or you go all the way up, you need an insane amount of storage or compute, or you want to go all the way to the right here, well, at that moment, you will see that dHCI will be a more efficient, more agile platform. Because this is an important one to show to a customer is we're going to start with a nimble array or an Electra 6000 array. We're going to put 12 SSDs in there, or we can have a hybrid model with nimble Gen 5 until now as well, as long as it's available. And we start with 2 compute nodes at a minimum, again, for high availability. If one server fails, everything will run on the second one. And Mr. Customer, now we have a tool called Ninja Stars. I can tell you how many compute power, how many IOPS, and how many capacity that you will have, depending of the HF20, 40, 60, 80, or now an Electra 60, 10, 30, 50, 70, and so on. But so this is where you're going to get started. Now the customer says, hold on, I need more compute. Well, there you go. You can add a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth ProLiant server. You can go today up to 32. You can go higher, but 32 is the officially supported number today of compute nodes. So that's up to you. You just order those ProLiant servers and you're going to add them in the rack, and you're going to add that compute, scale up that compute. But look at that. You can scale compute independently from storage. This picture with SimpliVity, we would have had more capacity and more IOPS with every compute upgrade that you're going to do. Well, with dHCI, disaggregated HCI, I can add more compute independently from storage. Yeah, that's the main difference between SimpliVity and dHCI. And now, of course, that customer, after a few months, after a few years, he says, hey guys, I need more capacity. Well, what you can do is, depending on the nimble or the Electra configuration, how you started, you can add storage within the array. You can start with an 11 terabyte capacity, and then you can add SSDs in there, and you can double, you can triple, you can quadruple, depending on the size, the capacity of the SSDs and the drives that you're going to put in there. You can scale within the chassis from 12 to 24 SSDs. It's always a pack of 12 that you're going to add in there. So you're going to have more capacity. Now watch out. This is also nimble and Electra. A unique feature in the traditional storage array. If you add capacity, you're going to add IOPS. And if the customer needs IOPS, he needs to add capacity in a traditional array. Not so with nimble and Electra 6000. Because the performance is defined by the controller. Let's say it's an HF20, you're going to have a certain number of IOPS. If that customer says, I need more IOPS, well, the only thing that you need to do is upgrade that controller from a 20 to a 40 to a 60 to an 80 with nimble. And with Electra now, it's a 60, 10, 30, 50, 70, 90. Yeah. So again, it's the controller that defines IOPS, and it's the number of SSDs that will define capacity, but there's no link between IOPS and capacity in a nimble array and in Electra 6000. Now, of course, if the customer says, I need more capacity than those 24, no problem. You can add first and the second, depending on the model, you can add one or multiple drive enclosures or drive shelves. And at that moment, that capacity will grow, but not the IOPS, remember, because a controller defines the IOPS. Now it's not finished yet, because this is scale up. This is one nimble controller shelf with some disk shelves. Now with nimble and Electra 6000, remember that we have also scale out. So you can add a second, a third, and a fourth controller. And so you're going to create a cluster of 4 of them. And so now performance goes up and the capacity goes up as well. How cool is that? Yeah. So there you go. Full flexibility, full scalability, independent if you want to scale up or scale out CPU, memory, storage capacity, or storage IOPS. This is something that you cannot do with SimpliVity. There's a one-on-one relationship, not so with dHCI. Besides that, all the nice things that you can imagine, it's integrated in vCenter, creating volumes, creating snapshots. It's all in vCenter, just like SimpliVity. We have application awareness with the VSS integration. We have multi-cloud capability. We have the AIOps with InfoSight as well, and also the lifecycle management. We have an upgrade manager, single click button, and he will upgrade ProLiant servers, compute, and the nimble storage array. So it's the same experience, just like with SimpliVity. Yeah, that's the whole idea. Very lot in common, just a few differences in there. Also, the integration with HPE Cloud Volumes, there's nothing to manage. There's no egress costs. There's no cloud vendor lock-in and so on. But now you can create a snapshot on volume level and send a copy to the public cloud, and you're going to pay per terabyte. Yeah, that's the Cloud Volumes integration as well. Upgrade management, also here, it's from one environment where you're going to do your updates. InfoSight will tell you if there is an update. He will download the software for you, and then you're going to upgrade the storage array itself, the virtualization software, the server firmware, and other PSPs, ProLiant and support packs will be all upgraded and managed for you thanks to the software. Yeah. So a lot of similar things, like this is an example now of those what they call intelligent upgrades. So you don't have to check anymore about catalogs on the VMware website of what is supported, what is not supported. Now I admit with SimpliVity, you have to take a look in the interoperability guide to see that version with that version and that version. I admit you have to do that. Well, with Nimble and Electra 6000, you don't even have to do that anymore, because InfoSight will tell you that is supported, that is not supported. Push the button here and start the upgrade. So Nimble and InfoSight, it exists already for more than 10 years. There's more intelligence in there. And so that's why there is more enhancements, more integration in there on that complete management plane. The only thing that we don't update yet are the switches. I'm going to talk in a minute about the switches, but we're going to talk about the hardware. But so the switches are not updated yet. So this is a separate thing. But compute and storage, it's an easy upgrade. Talking about the switches, what are the building blocks then? Well, it's quite simple because dHCI exists already quite some time. It started in 2019 with the initial release 5.1, 5.1, which is the Nimble OS software version. It was initially DL360 only, generation 9 and 10, up to 20 hosts with a Nimble Gen 5 array. All flash and a hybrid model, and we supported VMware 6567. Meanwhile, of course, there are updates. Meanwhile, we support the DL560 and DL580 as well, and also the AMD models with the DL325 and the DL385. The number of hosts supported is higher. VMware vSphere 7 is supported. There's a third release with more integrations, 25 gigabit support, enhanced one-click upgrades. And now with the latest release, we support now as well Electra 6000. There are new switches that are supported as well for the network automation with Aruba. With the Nimble OS and Electra OS 6.0, which was released last year. And meanwhile, there are some minor updates there available as well. Latest version, as far as I know, is 6.0.0400, if I remember well. Go take a look on InfoSight. On infosight.hp.com, you can find all those versions there as well. Now, taking a look at the building blocks, well, if you're going to go for a dHCI solution, what is in there? There are network switches. We have multiple models, so the Aruba 6300 and the 8360, for instance. We have the Flex Fabrics, which are the Comware switches 5.7 and 5.9 series. And also very popular today are the StoreFabric M series, which are the Mellanox switches. The SN2010, for instance, is the most sold switch today in a dHCI solution because they're very affordable and very performant, very low latency switches as well. Then we have a stack of software, the dHCI stack setup software, then the manager software for your lifecycle management, and then the stack upgrade software to do the upgrade, right? Then the hypervisors 6.7 and 7.0. 6.5 is supported in what we call brownfield. You're going to see in a minute what is brownfield. Greenfield is a new deployment. A customer has nothing, and we install a new environment. That's what we call greenfield. You will see with dHCI, yes, it is supported. If you have a customer with existing ProLiant servers And those ProLiant servers are still supported. It's Gen 9 and Gen 10 servers. Well, at that moment, you can order a dHCI setup with the Nimble or the Electra array only, which is called brownfield then. So you provide at that moment the compute and you just order the Nimble array with the dHCI software on top of it. And so there you go. Quite a lot of hardware, Gen 9, Gen 10 with AMD Gen 10 Plus and V2 are supported today with compute with 10 or 25 gigabit networking. Nimble Storage Gen 5 and Electra 6000, know that it's iSCSI based. Now, most of the Nimble arrays are iSCSI based anyway. But so it's always an iSCSI solution today. Now, like I said, we have two deployment paths. We have the greenfield where HPE will deliver the storage array with compute and the switches, while with brownfield, you have existing switches. They have to be good quality, so good, decent iSCSI storage switches, not the cheap ones. Don't say, hey, my customer has 10 gigabit switches. Yeah, I can buy a 10 gig switch for 100 euros. That doesn't mean anything. No, it's got to be a good, decent switch supporting iSCSI. Existing ProLiant servers, Gen 9, Gen 10 are supported. We just have to validate the ESXi image that is running on there. That is the HPE version, the HPE OEM ESXi image that is running on those servers. But then you can add it. And the only thing that you're going to buy is at that moment that Nimble or Electra array with the dHCI software. Interesting information. Know that a Nimble Gen 5 with or without dHCI is the same price. So the dHCI software as such doesn't cost you money. Also in Electra 6000 with or dHCI or without, it's the same price. Now, I always got questions. Hey, I have a customer with a Nimble Gen 5. Can he change it in dHCI? No, that's not possible because there is the same, but there's other firmware on the machine saying that it's a dHCI, it's another part number. Also on support, it's another part number. So no, you cannot transform a general legacy Gen 5 Nimble into dHCI and also an Electra 6000. It's at order that you decide that it's dHCI or not. Okay, it's just those typical questions that I get quite often. And so here is then an overview of a greenfield deployment. At the factory, we do quite a lot of things. It gets transported by Tech Data. We deliver it. And then you're going to do the rack and stacking, the deployment. Unboxing is the heaviest job that you're going to do. You put it in the rack, power cables, network cables, 15 minutes, and it is up and running. Now, of course, with brownfield, we only gonna create there that storage system, the Nimble or the Electra array. We're gonna ship it and then rack it and stack it and deploy the system. But then watch out, of course, we need to check the conformance of the network and of the compute that you are running the right ESXi HPE images. And then we're gonna run the setup wizard and then it will be ready for production. Okay, so these are the typical differences, the steps between brownfield and greenfield. And so just to give you an idea then, this is an animation of what you can do. Is one nice thing is that it's not because it's iSCSI that you cannot connect fiber channel. I have one customer that said, yeah, but I have existing servers with an Oracle, yeah, it was an Oracle database on it, but that Oracle server has fiber channel. Well, know that it is supported in that Nimble array or that Electra array. You can install a fiber channel HBA live without downtime. You can this is also a nice thing about that disaggregated HCI is the fact that you can install live fiber channel HBAs in there. And then if your customer says, hey, I have a Hyper-V environment, I have an Oracle environment, yes, you can connect those outside servers, outside the dHCI stack. Yes, you can connect those servers over iSCSI or over fiber channel to that dHCI array. So you can put that data on there. Know that this is supported. It's a really open platform. Okay, it's also something that is not possible with SimpliVity. With SimpliVity, it is an NFS data store for SimpliVity nodes, and that's it. Okay, no fiber channel support, for instance. Also, if you have customers with 2 data centers, synchronous replication is which is what we call peer persistence. Yep, we can do it as well. So it is supported to have two dHCI stacks, one management plane, one management cluster. At that moment, there is that witness software, of course, the tiebreaker between the two. But no, with dHCI as well, it is supported to have peer persistence with sync replication for high availability, for really zero RPO and RTO. And also there, if you want to run virtual machines and also containers, if your customer wants to virtualize applications, well, no problem. Know that that CSI driver from SimpliVity is also available for Electra and Nimble Gen 5 for the container storage interface driver to connect this storage platform to your Docker and Kubernetes. And yep, we support, of course, VMware Tanzo and Rancher and OpenShift and so on as well. So all these platforms are supported, but of course, we're gonna offer here our integration with the Esmeralda software, for instance, right? And if you dive further in there, there is a thing called DevOps. Yeah, the impact of the developers on the operations IT management. They're talking often about CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment and development. Well, if your customer is working with those CI/CD pipelines, well, at that moment, know that we have a document that shows perfectly how you can integrate very easily those CI/CD workflows on top of a dHCI stack, on top of an Electra or a Nimble Gen 5 platform. Okay, good, good, good. Just like with SimpliVity, a little bit of information about updates, because this was dHCI and what are the benefits of a dHCI solution. It's that scalability, it's that flexibility in the configuration and the performance. Now, also here, I give you a little update about the latest and greatest about the dHCI. Well, know that for Electra 6000, so Electra is NVMe storage. It's the next generation SSD, low latency NVMe storage with 12 or 24 NVMe drives in there. Well, know that recently HPE announced the Electra 2140, which is a disk expansion shelf. No, please don't ask me 2140. Where does that name come from? I have no idea. No one could tell me, because 40, you would think it has 40 drives. No, it doesn't have 40 drives in there. I have no idea where the number comes from, but it's a 2140 disk shelf. This is how it looks like. It looks like an Electra 6000, only at the back, I have a picture at the back. There is no controller in there. It's just a pass-through device, a pass-through module to connect then the NVMe connectivity with the main controller. The connectivity is done through 100 gigabit Ethernet or fiber channel. Yeah. You can install 12 or 24 NVMe SSDs in there. And today you can add one, but you can in the future, it depends of testing and certification. In the future, depending on the model, you will be able to add up to 2 of those JBOFs. It's not a JBOD anymore because it's not a disk, it's just a bunch of flash, of course. So there are 2 controllers in there. It's active standby, NVMe tier 1 storage. A lot of cores in there, by the way. In Electra, there's an AMD CPU in there. It's not Intel anymore. And so this is the disk shelf. These are the part numbers already, right? And so the connectivity is done with that shelf with 100 gigabit Ethernet. And so we have DAC cables, QSFP 28, that's 4 times 25 gigabit. DAC cables to connect the disk shelf with the main controller. Okay, so this is a picture at the back then of this is the Electra 6010 controller. Technically, it's a DL385 technically in there. So we have 2 of those controllers in there with PCI slots for your additional connectivity. And then in the Electra 6030, 50, 70, 90, which is the higher performance model, you will see that you have even more PCI slots in there, of course, for more performance as well. Well, now you will see here slot 11. That slot 11, which is that expansion slot, well, it's that slot that will be used to connect now the 2140. So the 2140 at the back, this is how it looks like. Less PCI slots, 2 power supplies, a lot of cooling, and just a few PCI slots here with that 100 gig connectivity towards my main controller. So it's the NVMe over Fabric bridge adapter. Okay, so it's those 2 ports that will be used to uplink that Electra 2140 with your main Electra. And on the capacity side, well, it's just like with the main Electra device, we have 24 slots in here for 24 SSDs or NVMe drives. Well, you can start with 12. 12 drives needs to be the same capacity. And just like with Nimble, we have triple parity plus on 9 data drives and 3 parity drives then. And then afterwards, you can add an additional 12 drives. Those 12 drives needs to be the same capacity between each other, but watch out, you can start here with 192 and here you can add 384. So the capacity of those 12 and 12 doesn't need to be the same across the 12, but within the set of 12, it needs to have the same capacity because of that triple parity plus, of course, right? That's how it works. Very similar to Nimble Gen 5, of course, right? And then I found this table as well of the specifications per model. The different models that we have, and so how many capacity that is available. Well, that 23 terabyte or 46 terabyte model, well, there is a 23 terabyte model available. Why is that one? Because of the 6010, because the 6010 is limited to 92 terabyte of max capacity, raw capacity. It is by design like that. Otherwise, you have to upgrade to the 6030. And so this is where you have to take a look. That will define of how many capacity, which NVMe drives that you have to put in your 2140. Okay. So no, that is available. This was announced a few weeks ago. A second thing for those who are working with VMware, who have a tight integration with VMware or doing a lot with VMware, know that VMware also has a platform for the software-defined data center. It's their vision of software defining everything, just like HPE is doing, of course. Well, for them, it's called VCF. I don't know if you heard about VCF or that you are considering it or that your customers are asking for it. Quick introduction in VCF, just a few slides, we're almost through. But of course, I have to tell you that also, if you consider VCF as software-defined everything, the complete stack from A to Z with VMware, well, know that VCF is from day one integrated and supported on dHCI cluster with Nimble Gen 5 and Electra 6000 as well. Really quickly, for your reference, you're never too old to learn. VMware Cloud Foundation, so it's a software stack that will integrate everything in a single platform. So we have compute virtualization, which is vSphere, which we all know. VMware does also storage virtualization, which is vSAN, and they also virtualize your network, which is NSX. And then the monitoring and the management is what they call vRealize. At least until now, they call vRealize because it changed quite often in the past. But so we have that complete stack of software components that they put all together in one stack, which is then automated deployment, configuration and management, just like we do with dHCI and with SimpliVity. Well, with VMware, it's called VMware Cloud Foundation. Now, how does it work practically? It's working with workload domains. So we have a management domain and a workload domain. The management domain are the servers where all the VMware software is running, and they are managing then one or multiple workload domains. And the workload domains, of course, they are running all the applications and the containers from your customer, of course. So practically, how does it look like? So we will have an environment with a management domain. So that must be present first. In reality, most of the time, it is 2 or 3, depending on the size. There's a sizer tool, by the way, but mainly it is 2 or 3 of those DL325s, very common DL325 nodes running VMware. And this is where we're going to deploy the VMware Cloud Foundation software on top of it. Okay, now these 3 servers will be already 3 dHCI servers. So we have a Nimble array behind it, or an Electra array with those 3 dHCI servers, and that will be our management domain. We're going to deploy then dHCI with the VCF integration. So there you go. I have my 3 servers with my Electra array. That will be my management domain, and you're going to create volumes on top of Electra based on vvols from VMware then. Nimble support, by the way, Nimble Gen 5 in the past already was the reference from day one for vvol integration before the own EMC storage platforms. That was quite funny story at that moment. EMC owning VMware, but HPE was the first one to support officially vvols as a reference architecture. But so we're going to have our management domain with the dHCI, and at that moment, once that we have here the VCF, so the SDDC, Software Defined Data Center Manager, running on that management domain, at that moment we're going to add additional DL325s or DL385s, depending on how many compute power that you need. And then from that software stack, we're going to deploy, just with a click of a button, we're going to add those additional dHCI nodes in the cluster, which will form then one or multiple workload domains. And it's on the workload domains that you, just like in a cloud, you can deploy all your 10, 100, thousands of virtual machines and application containers. Now, what are the prerequisites? Well, not that much finally. You just need the latest and greatest VMware Cloud Foundation software. You need the HCI with the VCF enabled. It's nothing to do there. It's configured in factory for you. You need a minimum of 3 ProLiant servers. Why? For your management domain, of course. And we're going to deploy then with an iSCSI network pool that you're going to create within the SDDC pool as well. And that's it finally, because we will recognize that VCF integration. The only thing that you need to be aware of is you're going to create a single vvol data store. Of course, you can create additional vvol those data stores afterwards, but at the deployment from the dHCI stack, there will be only one data store, and then it's up to you to create multiple ones. What's the value add to run VCF on top of dHCI? Well, of course, that's 6 nines of availability. Total costs of ownership will which be much more efficient compared to a vCEN architecture, and also to do an update of that cluster, hardware and software. Well, with VCF, there is an integration in vRealize to update the VMware software, but not the underlying hardware. With dHCI, we can update the hardware and the software. Yeah, so also there, total cost of ownership, simplicity is a better experience. So that's why, just to give you an idea, VCF, if you're considering it, if you want to take a look at it, the full stack, completely software defined, know that it's an easy win. Because now as well, HCI, the battle, now who wins? Well, at least for me, it's a really tough decision. For me, it depends of this picture, by the way. Tell me how many compute and how many storage that you need and how many data protection, because also VMware is not helping us. VMworld 2020, Nimble Storage dHCI came out as the best for virtualization and cloud before EMC, at that moment, the owner of VMware. Yeah, so hey, Nimble dHCI is really cool. And at VMworld last year, 2021, their SimpliVity was the finalist in security, networking, and edge virtualization and computing. So also there, not bad, right? So these are really 2 cool platforms to run that virtualization layer. So to me, the final conclusion, if you're going to ask me which one to pick, well, the answer is it depends of these parameters. And so this is why we are here. And no, this is the HPE team. I am the technical consultant. We have Wim Christophe Steve, who's going to help you with the bill of materials, with the SKUs, get the best prices. Danny Peter will help you with all the non-technical stuff, all the partnership relation stuff. In there, we have Tamara, Koen, Michael. Oh, we have a lot of people in the HPE team at Tech Data that will be there to help you with these questions, because the whole idea is I don't want that it became even more difficult. I think depending on a few parameters that you know perfectly, and I know a lot of you, and you contact me quite often to say, I want to position their SimpliVity. And sometimes I said, that customer with those requirements, maybe you should consider dHCI. I did it already another way as well. Hey, that's a Nimble customer. I want to propose Nimble there, where I said maybe it's better to do SimpliVity. And then we leave the choice to the customer or to you, the partner, of course. Yeah, because believe me, both solutions are great. Both of them we sell quite a lot. These two are the hot products for us. Okay, so main visibility on there, on both of them. On Electra and Nimble Gen 5 with or without dHCI, and SimpliVity, of course. Okay, and you got the update, the latest and greatest about Electra 6000. Next week, there's HPE Discover. I'm going to pack my bags, and I'll keep you posted on that one. And then have a great holiday, July, August, and then we'll keep on sending you emails somewhere end of August, and definitely September and October. We're going to plan the next update sessions with all the information about what will be announced at HPE Discover. Believe me, it will be fun. Hardware, software, GreenLake, services. Oh, there's a lot of things that will be announced next week. So it will be a fun second half of the year for sure with HPE. So stay tuned. Thank you for your time. If there are questions, by the way, I still have some time for you. I will stay online. Q&A is open. If you have questions, you can put it in Q&A here. Otherwise, call us, send us an email. We are available only next time in another time zone in my specific situation. But besides that, I will keep on answering all your phones and your emails anyway. Okay. Recording will be made available, and the presentation, that's what I'm going to do this afternoon, and I'm going to send them to the marketing team from Tech Data, and they will upload it one of the upcoming hours or days. It will be really soon available for you. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Guys, ladies, have a great day. Have a great weekend and have great holidays. Hope to see you soon someday at a physical event that we're going to organize as well. And yeah, see you next time. Thank you very much for your time. Stay safe. Bye-bye.